and we're seeing that in huge numbers now of young people, certainly in that 19 to 22 bracket, just going, hey, look, life needs to go on hold. I need to go do something for myself, the other side of the world, pack the bags and get going.
Welcome to the show, Canadians Work and Travel Abroad, a podcast by Go International Work and Travel Providers about all things to do with working and traveling overseas. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, host of the show and founder of Go International. I'm also an avid international traveler. I'm joined today by Nick Hare from the UK Pub Company. Welcome, Nick, on the show. Yeah, it's great to have you here. You're actually not based in the UK. You're based in Australia, and I'm in Vancouver. So morning for you, end of the day for me.
We're ticking off the countries, aren't we? Rounding out the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. We're covering the Commonwealth here. So, Nick, before we sort of jump into the UK Pub Co., I thought it'd be great for our listeners to know more about you. Would you like to share a little bit about your background? I'd love to have people hear about how you got into this industry and kind of what inspires you to stay in this industry.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's certainly inspiring's been an interesting word over the last few years during the pandemic, but certainly when I was finishing my high school, I was a bit lost potentially is the right word for what I wanted to do in life. Obviously a lot of pressure on you've got to go to university or go to college and get a degree, get that bit of paper on the wall, and get a real job and continue on with life. So. Fortunately for myself, my parents were pretty okay with me packing up as a 17-year-old, getting on a plane on the 1st of January, and I headed off to England and lived over there as a 17, soon to be 18-year-old for 12 months. I worked in the school, which was a pretty soft landing for me, but had the most amazing experience. So I was an hour or 2.5 hours out of London, an hour south of Manchester, and sort of nestled in that, almost on the Welsh border, which all those years ago was brilliant timing for me because Australia had lost the World Cup in rugby to England the year beforehand. So for me to duck over into Wales and commiserate with the Welsh, it was brilliant. But had the most amazing time. Learned a lot about myself, all my future career ambitions that were set during school were thrown out of the door after about 2 or 3 months in England. And then by the time I was coming back in that November-December period, my sister was 2 years younger than me, so schooling in Australia. All of her friends were coming into their final year of school and were asking what I was doing, and obviously knew that I was abroad and travelling and living my best life in pre-social media days. So I helped a few of her friends get some spots and enrolled into university when I was back and just did the easiest business course I could find to keep my parents happy so I could live at home rent-free. And by the time I'd finished university, the company was paying a wage. It was a little wage, but it was still okay and allowed me to keep going and doing what we were doing. And that was the best part of 18, 19.
So that company was not that was not the Pub Co. That was not the UK Pub Co, right? You started a company
working, doing school jobs. So finding people to work in boarding schools. And over the course of the years during the uni, we just had so many people applying for that we teamed up with the UK. It was London Pub Co at that point, and said, hey, look, we have a lot of young, particularly Aussies and Kiwis, given that we're based this side of the world, wanting to go to the UK. We just don't have enough placements in the UK at the moment. Would you be interested in teaming up and working with us? And got on famously well with the old owner of the London Pub Co. And we're working with them for 10, 15 years, providing them with some candidates. So we always worked with them as an agent, if you like. And then the opportunity a few years came up to purchase the UK Pub Co. And unfortunately for our sins, COVID hit, but hey, we're still here and people are still travelling and the UK's open. So it's, we forget pretty quickly the hard time and enjoying sending young people off on their adventure.
Yeah, that, to have bought that company just on the eve of COVID, that would have hurt.
Yeah,
But I'm glad to see you survived. And
yeah, absolutely. It certainly it maybe reignites the passion a bit. You know, when everyone in the industry, whether you're travel, hospitality, or recruitment, or whatever your game is, everyone sort of had to look at themselves and think, yeah, is it something we want to keep doing? And for us, I think it probably reignited that. Actually, this is something that we really love doing. We love setting people off on their adventure and giving them, the helping hand. We're not babysitting anyone, but, we want to continue doing this. And certainly we've seen that, particularly for, Australians and Canadians for that matter, where we had restricted travel, now sort of having that freedom to move again. It's that revenge travel now of young people just getting out and going, hey, I've got to live my life. I'm sick of being behind a computer screen. Hopefully they love listening to podcasts, of course, but getting out and seeing the world and exploring again and being young and having those experiences, those rite of passages.
Yeah. And as it did for you, right? Going abroad changed your life, put you in a different path, and it does that for so many people. So, we're Go International. Obviously, we're excited to work with the UK Pubco and put students from Canada, or not students, but young people from Canada into your program in the UK. And, I can't think of a better way to go to the UK than to go work in a quintessential, UK job of working in a pub.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? What does that look like for the participants?
Yeah, it's a brilliant, and I have to say we love, and our partners in the UK love Canadians. It hurts me a little bit as an Australian, but they love the Canadians. The work ethic is exceptional. The humour, the banter, the personalities are brilliant, and particularly when we can mix up a couple of Canadians into a pub and there's some Aussies, some Kiwis there. It just really sets it up. It's a great experience for everyone then, just to create, as I said, that Commonwealth invasion into the UK, to teach the Brits a thing or two is fantastic. But, from our end, it's, we have a scratch under 1,000 partners in the UK, so top of Scotland all the way down to Cornwall, and obviously all the way through London and everywhere in between. They all provide full-time, employment. They all provide accommodation, and certainly what we're seeing at the moment, the cost of living, which is a global phenomenon, right? Having that accommodation offset and some meals offset as well, depending on the partner. It means young people can actually kind of get ahead and still travel, which pre-COVID was almost something that just didn't exist. It might have existed in the 70s when our parents were young doing it, whereas now young people can get over there, be part of a community, whether they're in the local pub in London or they're the main pub in a little quintessential British pub, British town. It's a great way to be part of a community and have that sense of belonging, but then equally be a train trip away from Europe. And sort of scratch that travel itch as well. Yeah.
And I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. The fact that these partners, these employment partners you have, offer accommodation, that's amazing, because to be able to find a job is one thing, and then to find accommodation within your budget in an area near your employment, that's just another challenge that sometimes is too big, right? For some people. So this is what you've been able to put together for people is fantastic. That it's a package where they get a job, a place to live, instant friends in the pub.
Absolutely, it's relocating to the other side of the world. It's almost put in a box for you. So all you have to do is really mess it up. Otherwise, it's going to be a great gig. You've got young people working there. You've got local. You've got a mix of other young people as well from around the world. Got your accommodation, so you don't have the commuting expenses. You don't have to worry about petrol. You don't have to worry about increases in public transport, sort of fees or anything like that. You don't have to worry about bills. All you have to do is literally get off the plane. We give you instructions on how to get to the particular venue. You get there, you get a high five and a welcome. You get your little orientation around the venue so you know where everything is. Unpack your bags, get the jet lag out of the system, and thanks for coming into work. A week later, your first paycheck into the bank account you've already done. How easy is that?
Yeah, that's great. So with these pubs that are in the country or in the small towns, what kind of roles would a person have? What kind of jobs do they offer to participants?
Look, they vary. We have some hotels, and we've got a couple of Canadians from Go International working behind the bar at night. There's some great venues up in the Scottish Highlands, and they're sort of behind the whiskey bar at night, and it's a brilliant gig, particularly being in Scotland. But then during the day, they might be, helping on the front reception desk, checking people into the hotel as well. So it varies a lot, and it really depends on the venue. What I guess sets us apart, and something that we're really proud on, is we don't make that final decision on where, Johnny from Vancouver ends up. It's Johnny's call. So we'll put the opportunities through to Johnny, and Johnny can say, yeah, look, I love this option in the Scottish Highlands. I would love to have an interview with them. Johnny has that conversation. They talk about the different roles. They talk about the employment terms. They talk about the accommodation, time off, all of those conversations. We're not part of that. We're not in the UK. We're in Australia. We can't be there. We're not babysitting people. They're real jobs. They're real world. They're there for anyone. But we want Johnny to be comfortable in that, knowing that they've all been pre-vetted by us. We've done all those checks. It's a good gig, but it has to fit Johnny's. I guess what Johnny's wanting out of the program and wanting out of the experience, and that's completely different to everyone. So Johnny might be quite comfortable to be, a housekeeper in a hotel, or he might only want to be clients. But he needs to have that conversation, so he knows exactly what happens before he even gets on a plane at Vancouver Airport. Flies across to the UK, he knows with a high degree of certainty what he's going to be doing when he gets there, and it just makes that transition period a trillion times easier.
And so how many offers would, like, potentially how many arrangements would you show to a candidate for them to choose from?
Oh, look, it really depends.
They weren't happy with.
Yeah, look, it depends as well, and we sort of go one by one. Sometimes people have 2 or 3 at a time, and it really depends on when they're going in their skill set. If they've been a chef for 2 or 3 years, they'd probably get 6 trillion offers. Chefs are hot commodities at the moment, but I think that's a global phenomenon as well.
Yeah.
From our end, we're just looking for young people with the right attitude, and the attitude is work hard, play hard. As long as we get the timing right on that, everyone's cool with it. It's a brilliant opportunity. Getting back to your question, though, most people will get 2 or 3 offers. I guess they'll have those interviews, they'll have those conversations, and then they'll decide on which one they want to go to. And we don't hold any grudges if they knock back the other 2. They have an interview with our team. It's not a job interview, as you know. We're not the employer, but we want to speak to the candidate about what they're looking for out of the experience. So when we do that introduction, we're sort of hitting a few boxes and ticking a few boxes and making sure that we're all on the same page. So if they're wanting Central London and only Central London, we're not going to be talking to a venue in deepest, darkest Worcester. There's no point in that because it's wasting everyone's time. Whereas if they're looking for a job, in Scotland and they don't care, then we'll talk to all of our venues in Scotland that are looking for someone of that skill set, and they might have 27 different conversations to have. So it really depends. The more flexible the individual is, obviously, the more opportunities come that way.
And what you mentioned that you're looking for someone with the right attitude. So there's no previous work experience required, or is there some minimum requirement in terms of previous work experience? And
we always like to see some work experience, but it could be in any industry, as long as it's been dealing with people. We've got teachers on the program, we've got former professional athletes, the Commonwealth gold medalists. So it's a really broad spectrum. Yeah. For us, it's finding the attitude, because the venues in the UK will put you through the relevant training. They'll teach you they'll train you how they want you to work. That's the easy part. We're looking for the right attitude, that get in, work hard, play hard. As long as the timing's right, we're all fine. All of our venues know it's a cultural opportunity. It's a working holiday. The guys are coming over. They want to see and explore the UK, absolutely. But we know that Europe's at the doorstep. We know that Kentucky tours are there. It's to see Europe as well. But we've just got to get that balance right. So as long as people have the attitude to work, great. The work hours in the UK are long. They're 48 hours a week. Australia is about 38, so there is a big step up in terms of hourly commitments, but equally you do get paid hourly, so you are remunerated accordingly. You don't have the accommodation. You're not sitting on a train to commute an hour into work to turn around 7 hours later to come home. So it is a pretty good gig. Work experience-wise, the right attitude, some sort of prior experience dealing with customers. We've got school leavers that have worked at a cafe for 3 hours on a Saturday in their final year of high school, and that's fine. And then obviously we just need to make sure that everyone fits the visa requirements, and away we go.
Right. So 18 to 30 for a Canadian going to the UK is the age requirement. Is there a minimum age for the pubs though, or do they have to be a little bit older to serve alcohol like they do in Canada, or is that?
No, they're happy with 18-year-olds, given that that's
they're happy with 18
age in the UK for alcohol and serving, as
okay.
Obviously the visa requirement, and largely speaking, we're governed by the visa.
Okay.
Requirement.
Right. So in terms of wages, you mentioned they're getting paid on an hourly basis. Just can you give us a rough idea? I know everybody probably pays different wages, but then based on where they are and competition for staff, but what approximately should someone expect to earn if they're working in a pub in the UK?
Great question. And this is where I guess from us, one of the questions earlier about, reigniting the passion, I guess. Pre-COVID, it was the national minimum wage, and that was all based on your age. And some people are on £6 something an hour. At the moment, I can generally, hand on heart, say that most of our venues are at least £10 an hour. So there's been a substantial increase over that sort of 2-year period, which, again, if you're working an hourly rate, it's a pretty good gig when there's lots of hours to go through. So certainly big hours working, but big paycheck at the end. And then you have your service tips and your trunk and everything on top of that as well. So, it's a great way to make money. But generally speaking at the moment, we would certainly be around that £10 an hour mark, which is pretty good. And again, if you don't have those expenses, those hard costs of transportation, big expenses for accommodation. Most of the venues will now provide meals as well, so there's certainly a lot of incentives there. That money goes into your bank account, and you save it and invest it in the UK or the European economy on your travels.
And I love the idea about the traveling. What kind of vacation time do people in the UK get? Because if you're up in Scotland, for example, I guess you could stick to the UK for a weekend. Maybe you could fly over to Prague for a weekend or something. But if anyone wanted to do something a little longer, what kind of vacation time can they take legally?
Look, it's all up to the managers, and given the I guess the shortcomings in terms of staff in the UK as a result of Brexit, the companies are being phenomenally generous. They have their non-negotiable times. You can't take time off here, but then in this window you can go bananas. We'll hold your job. You can have leave without pay. So it really just it's a case by case. To be truthfully honest, it really is open for discussion. What we see is those that get in, work hard at the beginning, and just pull all the hours, and again top up their bank balance, then turn around and they've earned that goodwill, so they tend to get a lot more when they ask for it, and obviously then they've got the cash to go and spend too. Certainly time off during the week, it's a given. You still do get your 2 days off a week. They may not necessarily be weekends given the nature of the industry, but getting on a plane, turning up to Heathrow or Gatwick or Manchester, any of the airports in the UK, you're on a plane, and I guess Canadians know, like Australians, you get on a plane for 6 hours and you're still in the same country, depending on where you are. You get in the UK on a plane in 6 hours and you're almost back in Canada, or you're sort of down in Africa. So getting on a plane, going somewhere for a weekend, and all of our guys get on the train in London. They're in Paris in 2 hours later, in central Paris, go there for the night, turn around, come back the following afternoon, go to work the following day. Life's good.
Yeah, that's amazing. The distances in Europe, so it always blows me away.
Yeah,
how close everything is. Is there kind of an optimal time commitment? Some Canadians will take a full year abroad. Some others just want to go maybe at the end of their exams. So in Canadian university system, you can usually finish your exams in April, and you have to be back to school in September. Can you go for a short period like that 4-month summer, or do you need to commit to 6 months or a year to get the experience?
And that's where we love to see the Canadians coming over for a UK summer. And as an Australian, we don't say that too often, but this summer has been unbelievable. It's been very hot, but the guys that have headed over that April time, and they've had the most amazing summer in the UK, and to be honest, it's probably rained more in Australia over the last few months than it's rained all year in the UK, so it's been a pretty great experience for them. 4 months is our sort of minimum. I guess that's what the venues look for in terms of ROI, in terms of the training and getting everyone sort of up to speed. I would suggest that the average stay is between 8 and 9 months per location. That's extrapolated over the course, certainly since we've had Pubco. And that's a great way to sort of get yourself settled, part of the local community, use that to dart off into other areas and other parts of the UK and Europe. And then, say, for example, they're in Scotland. After that period of time, they might hand in the old resignation letter, go do a Kentucky tour, and then reach back out and say, hey, guys, it's Johnny from Vancouver again. I'm looking for a more urban experience now. Any chance I could, put my hand forward for an opportunity in central London? And away we go. So it's a pretty good gig. I mean, I met people that have done Pubco. UK or London Pubco, as it was set up, I think, in 1997. So it's rocking on 25 years now. I've met pub managers in the UK that went on the program 20 odd years ago that are still in the UK, that have fallen in love, that have both with the job or with the industry, with a local Brit, and then now over there and they run their own pubs. We've had children of parents that have gone on the program now go through it and follow their family's footsteps. So, look, what we'd like to see, and then where we love this program, is it is largely very flexible and very tailored around individuals. For some of the guys from Go International are a bit maybe jaded with university and just wanting to put it on hold and defer and jump out mid-year if that's a possibility. We can easily scoop them up and give them that experience, and it might just need the reset to go back into the university system and then continue with their studies. It might be a complete 180 and go, look, that's not the pathway for me. I'm going to go this way, and I know that from personal experience. Or it might be the opportunity for them to go, actually, what I was studying, reflecting back, is actually what I want to do. And this experience, I've gone overseas, I've built my confidence. I've seen the world. I've made some new friends, new connections. I've got some experience under my belt, and now I just want to get back to Canada and Australia 180. Let's focus and get through this course and get on with life. Yep. Either way, good outcome, right?
Absolutely. Either way, sometimes you just need a total escape from what you're doing and something completely different. And sometimes you think that's what you're going for, and it puts you off in a different direction. Right? I had a summer job when I was a university student. I had a summer job in Switzerland when I was a university student studying law, and it ended up that I was so inspired by the business I worked for in Switzerland, I started a company very much like that in Canada and quit my job as a lawyer. Yeah. So, you never know how these experiences will impact your life. But I had jobs in Australia, and I didn't follow up. I worked at Australian Telecom, and I worked at the Ayers Rock Hotel, and I didn't pursue careers in those fields. But every once in a while, a job will come along that will put you on a different path, and you just never know when that's going to happen.
And I think that's looking at the COVID generation now, of those that have sort of been in full-time education, be it high school or university. We're just seeing a massive spike of people going, well, hey, I had to go to university because I couldn't take a gap year or couldn't do the working holiday, which I'd planned for years. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to university, and it's just not for me. I'm not ready for it. I just need that year to myself, or that time for myself to venture off and as cliche as it sounds, spread my wings and make some mistakes. And that's how you learn, is making mistakes. And we're seeing that in huge numbers now of young people, certainly in that 19 to 22 bracket, just going, hey, look, life needs to go on hold. I need to go do something for myself, the other side of the world, pack the bags and get going. And, some people go with friends, some people go with their partners, most people just get on the plane by themselves and start that adventure and get to the other side of the world and get living again.
Yeah. Once we sign people up in Canada for you and we send you the application, how far in advance should they apply, and what's the process that they're going to go through with you? You mentioned an interview. What should they expect in terms of the admission, sort of the application and placement process?
Yeah, look, great question. From our end, again, coming back to that personality, if they can laugh at our jokes, I'm a father. I've got 2 little kids. My dad jokes are horrific. But when people are in an interview situation, they have to laugh, right? So it's all fun and games. From our end, we're just looking for that personality. The interviews are very carefree. It's all about the individual. There's no hidden questions or tricks or things that we're trying to trip people up on. We want to make sure they're eligible for a visa. That's the most important part, because if we can't get the visa or if they don't have the right permits to enter the UK, we're wasting everyone's time. So that's probably the main focus of the interview. And then it's just a general nattering of, where would you like to go? Have you been to the UK before? Is there a particular area in the UK that you'd like to be in, and why? And then we can really start moulding around the opportunities that potentially we can then go to the venues and say, Tom from the Dickens Arms in Oxford, who's the manager there, Tom, we've got a great guy here who's from Canada. He's from Calgary. He's super keen to come to Oxford. He's got a bit of a work experience. He's eligible for the visa. Here's his application. What do you think? And then we link the two up. They can have that conversation at the formal job interview side. Tom will come back to us and say, look, the bloke from Calgary was brilliant. Let's take him on board. Here's his contract. And then obviously, Tom gets it all sorted. We work on dates and away we go. From a signing up perspective, the visas for the UK, for the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, you can apply for that 6 months prior to your departure or your intended arrival date in the UK. From our end, we don't really want people applying 3 years in advance. It kind of defeats the purpose. A lot of time can change. We probably have a pandemic in there somewhere as well. So ideally 6 months before anyone is looking at departing is a really good time for us, because it means we can start that process. It's not a stressful process. It's nice leisurely build up. From our end, the opportunities, the venues start looking ahead maybe 2 or 3 months prior to that intended arrival date. So we can build all the preferences, get all the profile ready, get the visa underway, and then the opportunities come through, and then, it's up to the individual to impress the socks off, the partners in the UK, which being Canadian, they inevitably do.
Yeah, I think it's really a job finder's market in the UK right now, as you said, because of Brexit, and not so many of the Europeans that used to be able to come and work in the UK are not eligible anymore. So that's creating a huge void, right, of employees for the employers.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of plugging that gap as well, and there's a huge market that's left the UK. But it's now restocking it, and it's restocking that market, stocking up the shelves again with people with the right attitude. And I think anyone that's gone through COVID is they rebuild their teams. It's, well, do we go bigger and better, or do we get the right people in with the right attitude, and we run a really lean machine that everyone is remunerated accordingly, but we have a great culture, we have a great attitude, great benefits, and that's why they keep coming back, looking for the Aussies, looking for the Kiwis, looking for the Canadians to come in and bring that attitude. They're here for a short time, they're here for a good time, and it works for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I think this has been really helpful for our listeners. I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking about going to the UK right now, and hearing about the program and hearing about the jobs and how easy the process is and how much it includes is incredible. One last question. When they're on the ground in the UK, if anything happens and they need help or advice, how do you support them? There's
a number there. All they need to do is WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, whatever way they can communicate these days. We're at the other end of it, and certainly we've got guys in the UK that are there. again, our experiences are for independent people. We're not going to come and have a sign at the airport go, welcome to the UK, and then off you go, and you've got a week in London to spend a lot of money to see the sights. Our program is very different. Our program is, here's the opportunity. It's your opportunity. You've got to make the most of it, in the knowledge that all the support mechanisms are behind you. But I've done my work abroad. I've done my gap year, my working holiday. The team here have done it too. We loved it absolutely. A bit old now to do it again. I'm not sure my wife would be working in a pub with 2 children. But it's all built there for the next generation to go across in the full knowledge that it's your experience, and it's in a box. It's yours to go, but you've got to make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, right? If people need that, if they need everything organized for them, they're maybe not the right person to go abroad. There's just enough there to, as you say, in a box to take care of, the job and the accommodation. But obviously they have to be independent enough to travel on their own, get to their job site on their own, and deal with employers as they do in Canada on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you again. It's been great to see you and have this conversation. And have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Can't wait to see some more Canadians the other side of the world.
Great. Thanks again. Well, that's all for this episode of Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, and thanks for joining us. We would love to hear from you. So if you have feedback or ideas of other topics you would like us to cover in new episodes, please contact us. Our email address is programs, programs, programs at gointernational.ca. And if you want to learn more about the programs we currently offer, please visit our website, www.gointernational.ca. And in order to help us find more Canadians and share this information, please like and review this podcast. We want to get the word out. Thanks so much.